Greetings, everyone. This is Chris over at SkyTech Enterprise Solutions. In today's video, we take a look at a requirement for an app that I received. Um, I'm basically just showing the business and functional requirements. We have the summary of this app, and then we have the detailed requirements as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. In summary, my HR department wants some sort of an app, right? And in this case, since we're using the Power Platform, we are going to create a Power App as our using the Power Apps as our interface, our UI user interface, and we will have Power Automate in the background, sending some emails for the Power App interface, right? So we'll have our workflows in the back, and we'll have our Power App UI in the front. All right, so again, HR wants a Microsoft Power app that can be used for consultations with employees, in order to record employee feedback, complaints, grievances, maybe even exit interviews, right? Exit interviews, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can use your imagination there. Pretty much any sort of contact between employees and HR, which is outside of onboarding and benefits and stuff like that, can fall into this category. And we could probably expand it to encompass several different things. So in terms of the business and functional requirements, all employees must be able to submit a consultation from this app, right? Which means all the users within your environment should be able to access this app. HR employees must be admins, right? So they should have administrative rights or privileges or access levels within this app. And then all employees must be staffers, right? So now all of a sudden, we have admins and staffers as two separate users, right? Or user groups or roles. We can call that roles. ROLES, roles. Also, only HR employees, which are admins, must be able to add new admins. So for instance, if HR has a new employee or a new manager, only an existing admin can add that new person. A staffer cannot. Users must be able to save a record without submitting it, right? So you come in, you're an employee, you want to submit a grievance or kudos or whatever complaints, you should be able to create a new form and save it and come back and probably save it again before submitting it. Users must be able to submit a record. You come in, you have everything you need, all your information, you create a new form, you submit it, done. Users must also be able to submit a saved record, as I mentioned. You should be able to save a record several times before submitting it. Then these admins from the HR team must be able to manage the types of issues. As I mentioned, employee feedback will be a type of issue. Exit interview might be a type of issue, but complaints, grievances, all these are legit issues. So admins from the HR team must be able to add new issues or remove issues or edit issues, right? So manage here will say add new, delete, edit, right? Number 8, admins must be able to comment on each record. Meaning, if I were to go in and submit a grievance while it's being investigated, the admins from HR should be able to make comments, right? So something like, well, I met with the user, I met with the employee, and I heard what they had to say. The employee was visually distraught, stuff like that. The admins should be able to add that comment on that record um, while the case is ongoing. And I think, well, and then here it says that the when a comment is added, an email must be sent to all admins, right? So all admins should be able to get that email that says, hey, another admin added a comment to this case. Staffers must not see admin comments. That's pretty straightforward. And admins should be able to export all records to an Excel spreadsheet. Call it spreadsheet. Um, and then also send an email to all admins when records are exported. So in a nutshell, that's our business ask. That's what my HR team wants. So that's something that falls within the realm of PowerApps or the Power Platform. That's something we could do. Okay. Now, yesterday, I actually recorded a video with these same requirements. And I actually made some headway. But after I uploaded the video or processed the video when it finished processing, I realized that it was highly pixelated and some of the graphics were not up to par. So in this video, we'll do something. Well, I'm using a different software to do the recording, so this will be better. But I guess the added benefit here, if you're watching this video, is that you get to see what I built yesterday, as opposed to seeing blank screens. And again, these are the screens for our PowerApp app. Essentially, these are the pages of our app, if you will. So we started with let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens, right? Landing screen is our home page. The submit screen is our form where you come in to submit, right? You can save or submit your record. And the edit case is where you can actually look at an existing case and edit. So you could be an admin and go in to make updates to that case, right? Or you can be the staffer, the employee, and you can also go in to make edits to your case, to your record, as long as it has not been submitted. Um, so we have that submit case, edit case, dashboard, which is the view that the staffer would see all the records that they've submitted or saved, and then they'll also see, and then also the admins will also see um, cases that have come in from all the employees, right? So it's going to be two different things. The employee sees only their own submissions, and then the admins will see submissions from all employees. This screen here is for managing users. Again, remember we mentioned one of the requirements was that the admins should be able to add new admins or probably remove an admin. For instance, if someone leaves the HR team and joins and becomes a staffer, or if some HR person, colleague is off on leave, right? You can edit, remove that person, add a new one, etc. Also, the manage case issues is a screen that's going to allow HR personnel to manage the issue types, right? So they can manage the case issues. So again, it could, the issues are complaints, grievances, feedback, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so I'm tempted to rebuild this whole, these screens that we had, started working on yesterday, but now it kind of makes sense to um, build this out in a separate video, right? So maybe what I'll do is just start a brand new app and just build these guys out, right? So that'll be a video that's separate. All right, so that means that we'll continue with what we have here. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we'll continue with what we have. We'll continue with what we have here and keep it moving. All right. So the next step is, and you know what? I'll just go ahead here and play this out so we can see that our buttons are actually working. Um, right? We have transitioning, and so once I get on each one of these screens, right, the buttons are wired to actually browse to the next screen. Um, our submit new case screen is pretty much laid out. View cases is also laid out. We need to lay out or populate the manage users and manage issue types screens. Okay, so we'll be doing that next. So manage users is going to be the place where we come to first, we want to be able to see what users we have and also be able to add new users or edit our users. Now, if we look at my data connections, um, it looks like I need to add my user list, okay? Because that's how we're going to see who's an admin and who's not. So again, what I'll do, all right. So as you can see, I have my um, roles list here. And here you can see the role of different users. We have administrators and we have staffers. Okay. So I need to bring this list in to my Power App as a data source. Okay. So how do I add a data source? I go here to data. Again, this is our navigation here. You can look at your screens. Okay, get to see, expand this out. And then you can also see your data sources, your media, Power Automate, variables, advanced tools, and you can do a search. Okay. In this case, we want to add a SharePoint connection, right? Again, you can see you have Dataverse connections. You can have other sources of data. You can have an Excel spreadsheet and so on and so forth. But in this case, we're using SharePoint. So I'm going to select the SharePoint URL. And here you can see what I'm about to connect to. And it is basically the roles list, right? So connect. There it is. So I'm going to save my app just in case. It's good practice to save your app periodically, although Microsoft allows you to set a setting that says that it will autosave every 2 minutes or 3 or 4, but I prefer um, saving this manually. All right, so what I want to do is I want to display a gallery. And again, I'm going to use a vertical gallery, and I'm going to connect it to my data source. Takes a little bit of time. So here I can see I have a list that shows my users, right? So it's basically the data from here, from that list. Uh, I honestly don't need that image, title, and subtitle. All I need is probably that. And to be honest, I just need a user's name and their role. That's pretty much all I need to display here. So I'm going to move, and I'll probably delete this one. Okay. Oops, can't do that. Let's see about that. Okay, can't do that either. So maybe guess what? We will just make this not visible anymore. And so now instead of displaying the roles column, which is, I guess it's title here. So instead of displaying title, we want to display the name, display name, right? So we'll come in here and type display name, okay? And that gives an error. So here we need to go deeper and qualify this display name. And now again, instead of displaying the role, which is this title, we want, well, instead of displaying the title column, we want to display the role column. So here it's going to become ROLE, and we'll put a dot and we'll save value, right? That's pretty much what we need to display here. Well, actually, not so fast. Remember well, here, let me give this a little bit of color so it stands out. Remember, we want to be able to um, delete a user and probably change their permission type, right? So here we want to copy. So I'm going to copy and then I'm going to paste this icon, probably do it again. And now we have 3 icons. This, I'm going to change it to become delete. Oh, sorry. It's going to be, I need the, what's it called? The trash icon, trash bin icon. And I'll give it about 20. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I need the width, yeah, to be about 80 and then the height to be about 80. Something more visible, larger, probably make it a solid black so it's more visible. So that's when you want to delete a user. That's your icon. And then here we're going to do an edit. So basically we're changing the icons, right? And again, we'll do 80 height, 80 width, and give it a solid black color here. And so we have delete, edit. I think that's good enough. So we'll just get rid of this other icon here. I'm not sure what that. We'll just comment this out for now. All right. So now when we go to home, we can look at our users, right? These are the users that we have. I also notice that this option here did not display on the subsequent row. So I'm going to get rid of it and I'll simply go back and edit, change the type of icon. So again, we'll add some cool headers here. So I'm going to do a copy and paste, Control C on my computer, on my keyboard, and copy and paste, and say here we'll say delete. We'll center this out, and we'll drop it right on top. And then here we'll type edit. Center this out. And here we'll say role. Okay. Place this here. Now there's better ways to do this. And here we'll say user. Right? You can use containers to do this, but I kind of want to show you the manual way of laying things out before we ever get into using containers. So here we have our user display, right? We can actually see that. What else do we need to do? I need to be able to add a user, right? So I'm going to go in and insert a form. I'll go with a display form, and I'm going to connect it to the roles list. Again, it takes a little bit of time. And there we go. So here I can come in and actually add a new user. Obviously, I need two buttons. One for, so I'm going to copy and paste. So I have two now. So one is to, I guess, reset this form that we have here. And the other is to add new user, right? Something like that. So when it's time to add a new user, hold on a second here. Let's see. All right. So again, in PowerApps, when you first create these forms, the data cards are locked, right? So you have to unlock them. Now, as you can see, the title field is required, but here we're calling all the titles roles, right? Just a placeholder to keep them not blank. So I'm simply going to just add that in here, right? So it's always going to be like that, right? And again, the reason why the form is going blank is because it's in edit mode, but it doesn't know what to edit, so it's blank. So if we give it a new default mode, as shown here, then it will be visible, right? So if you run into that issue of your form being blank, is most likely the first thing you need to check is what default mode is the form in. All right. So that means that we can actually hide, we can make this not visible anymore, right? So when I come in to add a new person, typically I want to select the role that I want this person to be, and then probably type their name, right? To see, I'll type their name and have that appear, okay? So that means that we have a little bit of work to do here. Let's go look at what our fields here look like. So if I go into SharePoint and I click on new item, can I find, is this a people picker, right? Can I find a person just by typing their email or their first name? Okay, so these two, that's a staffer, it's a drop down. All right, so these are good to go. Now, so we have role, which is that. Why is it doing that? Okay, maybe I need something different, right? So this is a, oops, it's a combo box, and it depends on, let's go and say, that's interesting. Let's look at our fields. Value to value. All right, single. Okay, so this is good enough. Question is, why is it not uh, pulling what we want it to, right? So let's go find out. Items. It sure is pulling the roles. No. Okay, I think I see what's going on. Well, it should be pulling this and displaying it in here. So let's find out what is going on here, actually. Why is my role not pulling? Okay, if I change it to double, what do I get? Same deal, makes no difference. That is a mystery. Okay, so email address. So if I type in here my name, it should find me, right? But it's not. So we'll have to figure out why it's doing that. That is also a combo box. It's the right type of box that we want. Here we'll say person, claims, display name, primary text. Let's keep them all display name, right? Let's test this out. There it is. Okay. So at least I can select, right? But should I also be able to search it? I think I should allow multiple. No, we only want to do um, one time. So now we scroll down, 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 display name. Let's figure this out. If I come in here and I change these back to person, no image, we want display names only. That means that I can come in here and type Chris, and Chris should appear, right? So, um, and that's really all I need. I need to be able to find the role of this person and the name of that person. So, these might become useful later, but for now, I'm going to hide these two other fields. Yep, make you not visible. Okay, so stretch this out and stretch this out. And we're going to reduce the height of this. And again, we'll add a little bit of color to it so it's visible to the human eye. Now, we still have a mystery with this role um, item here. So let's see what we can get out of it. I don't think it makes much of a difference. It should connect. Role is, yeah. So you know what? I'll try something different. So we're going to add a drop down in here, right? This drop down is going to connect to the same source. And voila, we get our staffer and administrator, right? Which is basically here. So the combo box was no good, although I think automatically PowerApps inserted it. So what I want to do is to keep the same name, right, for the drop down. So I copied the name of the combo box and I'm simply going to get rid of it. And I'm going to name the drop down that name. Okay, so you notice that all the errors disappeared, and here we are. We have our form for submitting a new user. Okay, you notice we have two columns, right? Or is it one? Well, let's figure this out. I'm going to go one column. I'm going to go two. Okay, and I'm going to go back to one. It's still not making much of a difference here. I'll do horizontal. Let's see what this is saying. So I'm going to get rid of that. And we will have some peace in the land here. Okay. So for now, we have this laid out as we want it to look. So if I were to come in here and say, hey, I'm coming from here. I manage users. These are the users that I have. I want to add a new user. I say, well, I want this guy to be an administrator. And it's Elvis Presley over here, right? I can do that and click add, and Elvis will be added here. Now I notice that when I do a search here, I get a double name situations going on here, which is not what I want. So how do we get rid of that? Let's try single. And so here I can type in Chris. I get Chris, and that's it, right? I don't get any double names over here. I'll save this periodically. And here we can add a new label and simply call it add new user, right? Keep it simple here. And here we will add a new label and call this one current. And we will do a lot of formatting with these layouts. But for now, this is good enough. Now, this is the name of that form that we're looking at here. And we'll just, let's make it make sense. Form add user, right? We'll call it that. And when we hit reset, we want to clear out this form. Okay, and then we'll call this btn reset. We'll just keep it that way. So once we hit on select, we will basically say reset form. And what form is that? It's FRM add user. So if I were to go in here, find a name and hit reset, that should clear it out, right? I noticed that staffer is not clearing out. Well, that's because it has only two options. It's got nowhere else to clear out anything, right? So maybe what we can go in here and look at the roles of staffer, of the staffer SharePoint list, and probably add, well, well, you know what? Let's go back. There's a way to allow nulls in here. Let's see. Allow empty selection. Yeah, you can set that to yes here. Oh, what was it? False. So we're going to do true. Right. Now let's see how true that is. Still not an option here. So there's a way to do that. Well, let's just do something like this. Okay. Put some spaces there. Hit OK. And so now if I were to go in and click on new, it's not taking my spaces. Well, we'll figure something out. But essentially, oh, it looked like it did. Voila. So I guess let's see here. Allow empty selection equals true is true. So if I were to go that way, let's see if I can reset it. So to reset that, it does work. So again, there you go. You can select users and then you can hit reset, clear it out. Best way to do that is to allow empty selection equal true. So we are good to go there. Now, add basically means submit, right? We it's just the same as going into SharePoint and doing a new item and hitting save. Okay. So when we hit add, or let's say add user, what we're doing is inserting that user into this list, which is this list. And what form will we be submitting? That form, right? So here we're going to do an on select, meaning when you click on this button, uh, the on select property is going to be submit form. And what's the name of the form? FRM, add user. And we'll stay right there. We could have added a navigation to another screen that says, thank you for submitting this new user, yada, yada. But we'll get to it next. We just want to make sure that our core functionality works. So if I were to come in here and say, well, we have a new guy on board. His name is Elvis Presley, and we want to add him, right? See, Elvis has been added again. We have two Elvises here. If I go, now we have one Elvis. If I refresh it, we should have two. Boom, there he is, right? So these are only the only two columns that we're actually inserting data into, right? So if I reset and say, hey, we have a new administrator, we'll call him offshore, oops, offshore dev. We want to add him to it. Add, boom, we have our new guy, right? So, uh, and we can make sure that this does not come back to that, right? So we can set the display mode of that form after you submit a user, right? We can set it so that it comes back to uh, the new mode, okay? Or new display mode. All right, so now we have our manage users screen pretty much laid out. So if we go to home, we have our submit new case, we have our view cases, and then now we have our manage users. Okay, we'll be taking care of that. For now, we're laying out our page. Now we want to go and populate the manage issues type. Now, I'm simply going to copy this stuff, right? And then we'll paste it on the other screen there, just to save us some time. All right, so I'm going to do a copy, and then we'll go to manage issues, and I'll paste that stuff here. And then I'll go back to manage users. I'll copy that. And then I'll go to manage user issue types, and I'll do a paste. Awesome. There, we saved a lot of time doing this, right? Now, we have another list that contains all these issues we're talking about. And that list is over here, right? So here are the grievance issues that we have. And we want to make sure that that list is also brought in as a data source here. That way we can connect this gallery to that data source and it'll display our issues. So we're going to type in here and say SharePoint. Click that, select this, type in the URL, hit connect, and we call that, what was it, issue types? Yeah, issue types. So I can't find it. I'm just gonna type it and it pulls up and I hit connect and there it is. So now it's time to basically wire this vertical gallery to, this is going to be interesting. So remember these names here. This one is roles, right? Because the name of the list itself is ROLES, no spaces. This one here, not so much. It's a much longer name, right? So what is it? SkyTech. So I'm gonna go in here and we're gonna make a mess. Check this out. What is it? SkyTech. Oh, well, it does show up. Boom. So basically, if you have spaces, you got to put these single quotes around it. Um, Definitely, we want to be able to delete and edit issues. We don't need a role, right? So we don't need this role label that's here. So I'm just gonna I'll just cut it, right? And that's an error message we're going to fix. So we don't need the role label or header. All we need here are issue types, right? Like that. So here, we don't need this as well, okay? All we need to do here, oh, that's not, all right, cool. So what we need to do here is go to this item, basically this row that we have here. We're not doing display name, rather we're doing title, right? We want to display the title column. So here it's going to say, we're going to type in title. And as you can see, that displays all this data from here. Right? So once we go into play mode, we can actually see all the issues that are listed in here. And at some point we can delete. And we can edit and we can delete. But we also want to be able to submit a brand new issue type. So again, in order to save time, I'm going to copy these, or I can do a quick select everything, oops, I'm just going to do Control C on my keyboard, copy, manage issue types, and I'm going to paste everything that I copied. And it takes a little bit of time. And voila, right? So here we'll say add new issue type, just like that. Okay. So here it'll simply be one it'll be one text box really, because if we're adding a new issue type, it's just going to be that, right? If you come here and you say new, it's just that, right? So let's say this is a test, exclamation marks, right? This is it. All we need is just that one field. So even this particular form, okay, is connected to the roles list, but we need it to connect to SkyTech HR types of issues. So again, we're going to type that in here. Oops. SkyTech, goodness. Okay, I guess we could go with that. types of issues. Oh no, I think okay. Yeah, I think I made a some kind of an error here. I think I clicked something I wasn't supposed to. Yeah. So this, interesting. Well, maybe what I'll do is just delete this thing here, this form. Just get rid of it. And we'll just simply add a new form. Okay. It could be an edit form. That's fine. And we'll select the data source, which is the types of issues. Okay. And there it is. Done. We have our one. And this is really cool, right? Because it's just that one text box that we want to type in our stuff, right? Type in the new issue type and be done with it. All right, what's the name of this form? It's called Form 3, but we want to call it Form FRM uh, New Issue Type, right? Call it that. Hit enter. The name is changed. We'll give it a little bit of color so it's visible to the human eye easily. And then when I come in here to say add, I need to change this to add issue type, right? And then here we'll say reset. What form are we resetting? It's that form. So now the error message is gone. Here's another error. What form are we submitting? Again, you can always use the IntelliSense, right? It's FRM, new issue type right there. We're good to go. So we're going to test this, right? So again, we're getting the blank form problem and we're going to fix it. Okay. All right. Very soon. All right. So we're going to go back to developer or development mode instead of play mode. And this form, we're going to set it to new, the default mode. So you can make that change here, or you can click on this letter or these, I guess this section here, and it'll switch to default mode over here, right? So we can change it to new, or we can simply type new here as a default mode. All right, so I come in, now it's visible. I can type in what I want to type. But again, we're going to go back to the home screen, look at our screens again. We can submit a new form. We can view existing cases. We can manage new users. And we can also manage issue types. So here I'm going to put in an issue type that I want to do. We'll say this is a new issue type. Okay. And when I go to add it, we have it listed. Okay. Again, once I hit the button, what I should have done or what we will be doing next is after you hit the do the submit action, then you reset this form back to new, right? The new display mode, which basically happens when I click this, you know? But again, if I were to type in lorem ipsum in here, I can reset it with that. Okay. So in a nutshell, we've pretty much laid out the foundation of our app, right? We have our submit new case page completed. We have our view cases created, page also completed, populated. Now we can manage users and we can now manage issue types, right? So what's next to do? Well, there's a lot to do. Number one, we have to do a whole lot of formatting on every screen, pretty much, right? We need page names, right? So if I come in here, I need to know, this one is that, right? Submit new HR case, right? If I go to view cases, it's got to be the same. I need to have a title here. If I go to manage users, I have to have a title here, right? And so on and so forth. So let's try to knock that out and conclude this video and we'll get into the more advanced formatting within the next video. All right, so here we'll say, we'll call this, let's say, submit new HR, oops, we need a space there, submit new HR consultation case, right? Let's just keep it that way. It's more descriptive. And then here we'll paste. So what you notice that I do a lot of copying and pasting to save time, right? There are other ways of doing things which we will be getting into, but for now we're doing things very manually. And this one, so you can change the text value of this label either here or here, right? It's two ways to do it. So in this case, I'm going to do the view cases. I'll do title uppercase here. And then I'll copy. So I copy this so that I can have all the formatting, right? And then I'll go into play mode, right? So in development mode, if you click on these buttons, they will really not move. Yeah, always have to go into play mode. You can click this play icon here, or on your keyboard, you can click on the Alt key only, right? All right, so here we have submit case, right? View case or cases, manage users. I'm going to paste what I have on my clipboard, and this one says manage users. It's still on my clipboard, and here we'll paste it and we'll call it manage issue types. Manage issue types. Okay. So if I start from home, submit a new case, I can see that clearly. View cases, manage users, and manage issue types. All right. Now that we have our screens laid out, I'm simply going to do a publish here. And well, actually, you know what? I'm going to do another publish here. And this time around, I'm going to type in completed screen layouts. I'll say completed all screen layouts, right? This is good to have these types of notes to kind of keep you, and I'll show you where you can find those different versions that you're publishing in a second. All right, so again, I wanted to show you, when you go and publish an app and you add a description, what ends up happening is that when the app is published, you have your version note listed as well, right? So here we are. This is the app we're building. Here are the details of the app. Here are the versions. So I guess every 2 minutes it's saving. Is it every 2 minutes? 1:23 p.m., 1:25, sort of, kind of, right? Um, Here are the connections that I have. SharePoint. I don't have any flows attached to this Power App yet. There should be no analytics because, well, maybe. I've had this app for a while, but no one's really using it, right? So pretty much these are supposed to be blank, right? So you can have usage, location, performance, errors. Let's check out errors because I think that's informative. Right. So with that said, we will go ahead and conclude this this video and continue with our dev work on the other on the next video. All right. So again, we did lay out our app properly, and we are good to go. We will be doing some more dev work in the next video. All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.